Welcome to Local SEO Today. I'm Roger Murphy.
And I'm John Vaughn.
John, today we're going to talk to business owners, entrepreneurs who are watching our podcast and watching this video about something that many people do not think about, and they really should. And it's called redundancy. So let's talk about ideas or situations where redundancy can help you and how it can hurt you if you don't have it.
Yeah, so this is a great topic because a lot of business owners don't even think about this. Until it happens, it's kind of too late because you might have already ruined your reputation, right? So as a service provider, let's give you an example.
Sure.
You are a pest control company.
All right.
And one of your staff call in sick. What happens when they have a whole list of people's homes that they have to go and scheduled for? What happens in that situation?
Yeah.
Do you have someone that is a sub-trade or a contractor that come in to do the work? Do you have another company that can actually do the work for you during that time? What is your backup plan?
Exactly. It's like having an extra service vehicle. You might think, I don't need this one, I don't have a regular staff, but let's say the service guy, something broke down. Time is money. If you lose time because the other truck or vehicles for service, backup or redundancy. It might even be having, frankly, if you have one team, what if you have two teams? The teams can back each other up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So not only do you need people, but also equipment.
Sure.
Right? And if you're in digital, it could be software redundancy as well.
Yes.
So making sure that you have a backup plan so that in case something happens, and of course, this typically happens when it's unexpected, when you're probably strapped for cash or something that you didn't expect. You kind of now have to come up with a solution, and it'll cost you a lot more to troubleshoot it, as well as you might lose a lot of your core clients when you're not able to serve them in a timely manner.
Especially if they're in you are in a business where your clients are in an emergency situation. If it's plumbing, electrical, anything where if something goes down, you've lost your heat, you've lost your electricity, water, whatever it is, they need your service now.
Yeah, so not just the vehicles, not just the people, but the equipment inside the vehicle.
Sure.
What is your redundancy plan, right? Last case, you can always just rent it at a store, but you need to form the relationship and you need to make sure that they have it in stock, right? So there's a lot of things that you really have to look at.
On a business level, and this is on personal also, but have more than one credit card. Redundancy, what if one goes down, one gets hacked? You still need to continue on with your life. If you're traveling around the world, having that second card in case one goes down. But in business, personal, all these little things in terms of redundancy it takes a little time to get it set up, and I don't recommend having 20 credit cards and going into debt with all those. All I'm saying is having two accesses to credit for business and or personal. You got relationships with two different institutions, whether it's one bank or another bank or two different banks. That's way more effective and better for your business.
Yeah. So in terms of not just the business as well, but personally, in life, what is your backup plan, right? There's a lot of younger entrepreneurs or even people that strive to be athletes. What is their backup plan?
Oh yeah,
right.
That's a good one.
You think about it. They spend all their time wanting to be that athlete, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, or whoever it may be, and they don't really have a fallback. So they don't really want to excel in school. They don't want to do well. They don't really want to get a job because they're in AAA. They think they're going to get recruited. Yeah. What happens if they don't?
And this is an actual story. Junior achievement a number of years ago, I went to a grade 8 class with another colleague. We were going to talk to the kids about their future in school and education, etc. And when I just asked around the room, so what do you want to do? What are you going to do? And all I heard was, well, I'm going to be NBA. I'm going to play pro ball. I'm going to play football. So to your point, John, is exactly what I said. I said, that is a fantastic goal to have. But just in case, what's your backup plan? It's great to have this education, so it's redundancy, having a backup plan. It's so true.
Yeah, so as a business owner, redundancy is so critical. Like in our business, software has to be properly backed up, right? So we build websites for clients, and this just happened a couple weeks ago, where for us, we actually back up all our clients' websites on an external hard drive as well as online, right? However, the hosting provider, it was a hosting provider that was a reseller, and they kind of went under. So their whole website was down, and there was no contact from the hosting provider. Good thing we had a backup on the external hard drive, and we were able to still keep their domain name and migrate that information over to a new hosting provider and get their website back up within 24 hours, right? But good thing we did have a backup. And that's what we kind of do for our software company, right? Making sure we have redundancy plans in place.
Exactly.
Right?
So if you think of it personally and professionally, this idea of having redundancy is, you may say, I don't need it, it's extra hassles, more paperwork, but in reality, things always will go. It's like Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong will. You need to have that redundancy. I like the idea when my dad had a small business when I was growing up. Not a massive business, but he had a relationship with one bank and then the other bank. He had some business everywhere, because just in case something goes wrong in one place, he's got full access to credit, to access to managers, to help lines in different places. So that was just his own redundancy. And
even with suppliers.
Oh yeah.
So if you were to buy a lot of inventory from one supplier, what happens if they run out?
That's
right?
it.
Or something happens in terms of they can't get it in time, right? You need to make sure, like, especially if you're in the auto parts business or something that actually has very high, you need it right away.
Time sensitive,
right? So you need to make sure that you have different suppliers, so that what if they can't service you at that urgent moment, right?
Exactly. Can happen. So the idea of having two suppliers, you might think, well, no, if I do it all with one supplier, I get better pricing, I get better volume discounts. The other side of the coin is that if that one supplier has had an issue with shipments coming in, you've got a backup plan. You can go somewhere else. You're not having to make a very difficult phone call to say, will you open an account for me? And then they say, well, you got to fill out a credit form. They've got to check you out. It's going to take 5 days. That is a tremendous amount of downtime for your business. So ahead of time, having relationships and credit lines and supply chain stuff set up in different places will only serve you in those moments.
And I think the last thing I want to mention about redundancy is people redundancy is very important as well as a business owner. So if you were to run a dental office, I know there's a lot of hygienists, or if you have a private school, there's a lot of teachers, right? What happens if something happens to them, right? They are, diagnosed with something, or
flu,
an accident happens, or whatever it may be. What is your backup plan, right?
Yeah, because your clients, your patients, they can't wait. They need to be serviced. So
exactly. And you have that booked for the next week, right? Who's gonna come in and fill the void, right? What is your backup plan? Do you want to just postpone it and call everyone? And that may look bad, but make sure it doesn't happen frequently, right?
Exactly.
So make sure you're fully staffed and with a redundancy plan in place.
Yeah. And really, if you, even to take away from this video today, if you just say, okay, financially, I want to look at redundancy. Software for my online world, I need some redundancy. Just tick off the check box for each of these different ones. You do a few of them, a few times a year, but just say, yes, this is my project right now. I'm making sure that my credit line I got redundancy. I'm going to make sure my suppliers that I've got redundancy. So it's a good, I guess, to-do list that will help make sure your business runs smoothly.
Yeah, and I think it's very important. Just budget it in your finances and make sure that you have that allocated amount
Exactly.
in case anything ever happens, right?
Exactly.
So you're ready for any situation.
Yep.
Well, that was a great talk. Thanks a lot, Roger.
John,
I really
thank you.
like that topic.
One last tip and trick, take a picture, redundancy, of your passport and then have it somewhere just in case. Anyway, have a good day and we'll see you again at Local SEO today.
Thank you.